I know I am not the only one who had to learn some of these things or all these things the hard way. I know you are going to be nodding your head when you hear some of these things and be like, yep. But my hope is that there are some things here in this video that you haven't yet had to learn the hard way. And this can hopefully save you some time and energy and money and frustration. Everything I'm sharing here is from my own experience, my own 10 years with ME/CFS. I can laugh about it now. What a nightmare. And then also the now literally thousands of people I've talked to over the years since my recovery. So let's dive right in. I feel like we need a drum roll. Hansla, she can us a drum roll, my video editor, please. Okay, counting down. Number 10, that recovery is something that is going to be done to you. You're going to go see as many doctors and specialists or clinics as you can, and chiropractors and acupuncturists and everything else under the sun, and they are going to have a procedure or a surgery or a pill or a magic formula that they've created that's going to work specifically for you, and then you just sit back and this is all kind of done to you, and then you're better. And you just kind of wait for the experts to take care of this and heal you so that you can go on with your life. Not the case with virtually anyone that I've talked to. It's all coming from within. It's all something you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to take information from different sources, and people will have bits and pieces to offer along the way. But all of this is not gospel, and it's thinking of people as consultants, not your ruler. And you decide, and you have to figure out what actually makes sense for you and your body and your journey. And then you have to do the work every single day to get yourself there. And I know this sounds hard and maybe like bad news, but it's actually very empowering. It's a good thing. You have the power to fix this. You have totally got this. Do the work and trust yourself and you will get there. All right, number 9. What works for one person will work for everyone. Now, I admit that I am very much guilty of this, or at least I used to be. When I recovered, I wrote my book that I'm so proud of that, yes, I framed it. And oh, my frame's coming undone. I will admit that when I wrote this, because I had been through this crazy journey and it was so hard. And when I recovered, I didn't hear about virtually anybody recovering. This wasn't a thing. And my mother had been sick her whole adult life, never recovered. And I did it. So I'm like, there's something here. I think I have a formula that's going to work for others. And I was wrong. I did not cure ME/CFS for the world. Shocking, I know. The book, thank you guys, gets really good reviews, but the consistent sort of feedback is that, oh yeah, I pulled out little pieces that worked for me, and it was really nice, to hear your story, and it resonated, and it's like you were telling my story, but not all of it was a good fit for me. I hear you. I get that now. So if you happen to still be out there kind of maybe like pushing your method on everybody else, I invite you to consider or learn from my experience that it's not going to be for everybody. It's just not. Okay, number 8. That diet will be really important and a big piece of your recovery. You need to figure out the exact diet that you need to be on, and you need to stick to it religiously. No room for error. Stress about it as much as possible. Just get really obsessive about organic and what sorts of vegetables or no vegetables or meat that you're eating. I, again, super guilty of this. In my book, there's a whole section on diet where I talk about the benefits of eating a whole foods, plant-based diet. So essentially a healthy vegan diet, no crap, no junk, just real whole foods that you find in nature. And I did fully recover eating this healthy vegan diet. And if you watch the vegan documentaries out there, they are hella convincing. They make it seem like it can cure anything. So I now no longer think that my vegan diet really had anything to do with my recovery. I think it helped things in my body. I saw a lot of different things improve almost immediately once I switched my diet that way. But here's the thing. People see benefits from all sorts of diets. Keto. I interviewed a woman on my channel who recovered from eating a carnivore diet, vegan diets, and so forth. And a lot of the benefits that people get from these diets is actually that they eliminate all the junk. So once you stick to a really strict keto diet or a carnivore diet or a vegan diet, you're no longer eating the processed sugars, the processed foods, the McDonald's, the junk food, all of the crap. So your diet gets very healthy. And by removing all of those chemicals and artificially created stuff, you're of course going to feel better and things in your body are going to start to heal. For some people, perhaps keto or something is the answer. Just in my experience and all the people that I talk to, it has played an extremely tiny role when it comes to recovery from conditions like ME/CFS and Long COVID. All right, number 7, you will need to spend a lot of money on supplements if you want to get better. They're going to be so important for your recovery. No, not the case. I wish I had the time or the money to hire someone to do this, because we could put together clips of the now more than 150 interviews I've done on the channel. And I bet the overwhelming majority, there's a place in there where the person says, I spent thousands of dollars on supplements and they did not help me at all. Now, if there is a supplement or two that is helping you, amazing. That's great. I'm not saying that they never help anyone ever. I've just yet to speak to a single person or have the experience myself that supplements were what they needed, that this was the path to recovery from these sorts of conditions. I, at one point, was spending, I believe, $2,000 a month on supplements. I was taking about 100 pills a day. I was at least hoping for the placebo effect, but nothing. So use some caution when it comes to supplements, and don't think you need to blow your paycheck on them, or that if you can't afford to buy all these fancy supplements that you're not going to recover, because I don't think they matter that much. Number 6. Recovery will be expensive. Not the case in virtually anyone that I talk to. I spent a ton of money trying to recover, tens of thousands of dollars, fancy tests, supplements, just different treatment protocols, going to like detox, not detox centers, but like health rejuvenation centers and fancy cleanses, and bought a really expensive like far infrared sauna to get put in my home. And I get that not everyone has this luxury, and I was blowing through money that I didn't even have eventually. But recovery doesn't have to be expensive. You don't need to take a really expensive program to recover. You don't need to buy all this fancy equipment. And, we've got really fancy like vagus nerve stimulators and neuromodulation and, Aura rings to track our heart rate variability. And, these things can help. Of course, you just don't need them. Of the people I talked to, recovery ended up being really cheap in the end and didn't require virtually any of this. And same was the case for me. So if you're struggling financially, of course, life is easier when you're not struggling financially and you're not worried about paying the bills and, maybe supporting a family and all of that. I'm not saying money doesn't matter. I'm just saying that you don't need copious amounts of it to throw at this illness if you want to get better. Number 5, tell me in the comments how common this still is, because I hear it more from people my age or who've been sick longer, but it was shoved down our throats that detoxing of all forms was going to be absolutely necessary for you to recover from chronic fatigue syndrome. Like our body was just this cesspool of sludge and crap, and our organs are all gunked up with stuff, and our gut was a mess. And this might be true. I'm sure it is true for some people. I just don't know that these cleanses and detoxing were the answer. And this could be in the form of, I did all sorts of ones. Like there was one where you drank, I think, like a cup of olive oil and maybe lemon juice. Try drinking a cup of olive oil. Don't, actually, the point is don't. And then you take some sort of like hardcore laxatives, and you couldn't eat for 24 hours before that. It was just a nightmare. And this was supposed to, I think, flush out your liver. And I know some people still stand by this. I don't know there's anything to it. And all different sorts of things. You could buy detox kits in the health food stores, and it might be through like just different protocols, or like eating only specific foods or certain smoothies or wheatgrass juice. It's just, detoxing was such a massive thing. And I did so many detoxes, and they were horrible and they were hard and they were stressful, and they never really got me anywhere. And the people, you guys that I talked to, for the most part, tell me the same. Number 4, I went from believing after I recovered that I kind of had the answer for everyone. I know how that sounds, to interviewing people on this channel and feeling like I had no answers because the recovery stories seemed to be all over the place and not connected at all. And I just, like, this illness, these conditions just became more and more mysterious. And I became even more committed to getting as many recovery stories out as possible because I'm like, okay, there's like these 97 different ways that you can recover or more. So let's just keep putting them out there like a buffet of options for you so that you can like, oh, okay, if that one doesn't work, that one doesn't work. And I'm picturing these poor people, you watching these videos, thinking that you have to try all 97 plus of these things. Oh, but it did not take long. Oh, naive Raelan, once again, to see that there were definitely patterns emerging. It's still unique. There isn't a singular path that fits for everyone or a singular recipe for recovery, but there is no denying, and science and research is backing this, that at least for some people, looks like for a lot of people, paying attention to the autonomic nervous system, to our brain, to brain retraining, to our threat assessments, to our trauma we might be carrying around, to strong emotions, stress that we have in our life, dealing with these things. Again, if I could clip together pieces from all the recovery interviews, it would just, you would be getting smacked in the face with it like I am doing these interviews every single week. Like it's just like again, to the point where it sometimes feels like, why even do any more recovery interviews? Because like so many people are saying the same thing. But I think we need to keep hearing it again and again and again to drive it home and get the message out there. Number 3, I used to think that recovery had to take a long time. My mother, who was sick with chronic fatigue syndrome for her entire adult life, was told from various sources that the longer you were sick, the lesser you had a less chance of recovering. And how horrible and depressing and scary is that? I mean, no wonder she got so hopeless over the years with this illness. And when I first got sick, I still thought that that was the case. But I've since learned that from you guys, from everyone that I talked to, from my own experience, that you were never too old, you were never too far gone, you were never too sick to recover. I've seen people come back from all sorts of hellish, nightmarish, severe, long journeys with this, and then they do fully recover. So myth busted. Not true. So let's officially bust that myth. Wherever you are in your journey, you can still recover. There is no point of no return. You can do this. All right, only 2 left and only 1 away from our most shocking and controversial myth about ME/CFS and long COVID recovery. So number 2, recovery has to take a long time. I was certain that it had to take a long time. When I recovered, because I was sick for 10 years, but when I got really serious about recovery again, I was about 8 years in, and then from there, it took me about those last 2 years to really fully get to a place where I'm like, okay, I'm good. There's no little symptom flares anywhere. Nothing scary, no little monsters popping their heads up. Not that I even believe in the word recovery anymore, because if it's your autonomic nervous system making threat assessments and, creating symptoms in your body, you never want that to stop happening. Like you want it to work, you want it to make assessments. So recovery, okay, that's a whole other video. But let's just say to get to a place where you're symptom free. I thought doing it in 2 years was really fast, because then it seemed like nobody was recovering. And I now know it doesn't have to take anywhere near that long. People can recover really, really quickly. And some of these people that I mentioned that have been sick for decades and severe at times, people in their 70s finally find what works for them, and they can turn it around really fast. That being said, it's important to remember that super rapid success, although it does happen, is the exception, not the norm. So when you hear these stories of people who kind of recovered in a weekend or a week or 2 weeks, it does happen for sure. It absolutely can happen, and it does. And we do have the science to back this, but that is not the norm. So It doesn't need to take years, but have some patience with the process. Know that it won't take you forever, but it's probably going to take you longer than a week. All right, number one, biggest thing I got wrong, and I think the biggest myth that's out there about ME/CFS and Long COVID is that there is something structurally wrong in your body, that you are sick, that you have an illness, you have a disease, something is broken. And although, of course, we can't speak for everybody, we now believe we have potentially a couple 100 million people on the planet or more with both of these conditions. So there's no way we can know what's happening in all of them. But I'm talking about a significant chunk, and how big that chunk is, we don't know, but it seems to be growing and growing, actually have nothing structurally wrong in their body. You're not sick, you're not broken, there's nothing to fix, you're fine. And this is a whole video in itself, and I'll link one at the end here that explains this in a lot more detail of what's really happening. But the good news is, the reason all of your tests, if they're coming back normal and every doctor's telling you that you are fine, is because you actually are fine. You are feeling very sick, and your symptoms and this condition that you're in is very, very, very real. People bedbound, can't eat, losing jobs, families, homes. It's serious. Not downplaying or diminishing that at all. But the fix isn't what we think it is. It's working with our autonomic nervous system. It's working with our threat assessment systems. It's working with our limbic system. All of this includes our brain, and just understanding why our body is sending these symptoms, these alarm bells. It thinks something is wrong, and kind of how to retrain it that actually everything is okay. So great news for many of us. We are okay, which is why recovery can happen faster than we think, and we can get past this nightmare so much faster and not be stuck in it like people like my mom decades ago who had no information thought that they had to be. The biggest takeaway from all of this that I would love to leave you with, and this is incredibly, exceptionally important. So if you take nothing else away from this video, please just hold on to this. The message that I get from everyone, that everything out there is saying, that my own experience has taught me, is that the victories, the progress is going to come in the small stuff. All the small stuff that we think is insignificant and not worth putting a lot of energy into. Things like getting some sunlight every day, spending some time in nature, meditating, keeping your stress levels down, dealing with your stress, dealing and facing your emotions, dealing with and facing your emotions, doing some breath work exercises, all of these things that we think are nice to have or just little fluffy things. It's these things done repeatedly over time that are delivering results for most people. It's just getting up every day and putting in the reps, doing it over and over and over, and then just waiting, building those habits. And over time, this all takes you where you're trying to go. And this all takes discipline. And I recently heard discipline defined in the most amazing, empowering, self-compassionate way. I think we usually think about discipline as something that is like we sacrifice and we have to be hard on ourselves and we have to be tough like boot camp, and it's just the whole word just kind of makes me stressed out. But someone on Instagram, can't remember his name, I'll put it on the screen when I find it, shared that discipline is the highest form of self-love. It is foregoing something right now for something better for yourself in the future. So in every moment where you feel like you have to make a challenging decision about something, or you're thinking about doing something that maybe is not in line or not the most helpful for your recovery, think about this form of self-love, of discipline being this. Like, I can forego this thing right now for something better for myself in the future. And if you feel or suspect that addressing this whole nervous system, brain component will be an important part of your recovery, but just really aren't sure and don't want to invest in any programs or anything, I'll put a link in the video description. You can sign up for, it's sort of like an email, all for free, like mini brain training course. So it'll give you some information, teach you some strategies, and give you some things that you can start using and trying right away to see if this is something that you might be interested in exploring. Thank you for watching. Massive hugs to you. You've totally got this. Don't quit. Do not give up until you find your answers. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a lot out of it, and I hope to see you in this next one.